power to use tools to bring in new members. And our guide gives them ideas about that they can choose from that will work for them. Now, I'll admit there's lots of ideas in the guide, but that's because we've heard a lot of great ideas from around the council and around the country. So the idea is that not every idea in the guide or in the resource pages is going to be used, but PACs are going to look at it and go, oh, we could use that, and that, and then they can succeed. So we need these steps more now because of COVID concerns, because we really are in a situation where, as we can get into in a second, about we may not have the typical access to schools for sign-up nights. And in fact, some schools may not be completely back in person already. So we need to use all the tools that we've outlined, and if we want to succeed, and that will be directed by PACs and supported by professionals. And to share some more on that, I'm going to ask our co-host, Ben Buckelew, to share some ideas.
Oh yeah, so thanks Bert for that, and you hit on some topics that I'll share a little bit more on, but you mentioned a little bit of a new format, a new logic of thinking, whereas if you've done a sign-up night before or participated in fall recruiting, you'd probably had the mindset of, oh yeah, my district executive will handle all that. And whether you were involved in the sign-up night or not, they would come by and say, hey, I need you to come by and sign these applications. Bert mentioned that the objective was to get as many people as possible signed up for scouting, which we still want to do that. But the logic was the last 10 years, if not more, was let's remove as many barriers as possible, which we still kind of want to do that too. But we at all possible by charging the minimum, by getting as many people in there as possible and signing them up and getting the application signed and registered. It's going to be different. And it's not that it's going to be different, it's got to be different. And all the things that Bert is saying about the involvement of the PAC, the parents, getting them involved and helping get den leaders, whether you call them a den leader or get them just to help. I think you'll hear that common theme throughout this morning. But we're going to change the concept up a little bit. And you'll hear more about membership fees going up, which is impacting that. And so being more part of the sign up, partnering with your executive in setting up the sign up, participating, having a parent orientation meeting, and being more as a unified effort instead of us just signing people up and trying to and hope they come to the first meeting. Retention is a huge focus for us right now, and making sure people come to that first meeting and have fun activities to do. And we want to also help you make sure your PAC is ready. And I think a lot of this stuff in this training is going to lay that out, so then you can be ready and ask for help and know the resources out there to help you be more prepared. Not just to sign up anymore. There's a lot of things that go into a productive and quality scouting program. So with that, Bert, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, so as a prologue to our steps to recruiting success, one of the things that I started to think about, and George Snipes and Ben and others have been thinking about, is what does scouting look like now? What are we actually asking families to join when we say, hey, let's do Cub Scouting? Because what happened in March was a real shock, and many of those conditions haven't changed. The experts say that we are in fact not out of the first wave yet, so we've not even begun to contemplate the second wave. And so we may need to think about what is our best delivery method for Cub Scouting. And as we looked at it, we thought that, maybe we have, similar to the way that some schools are approaching things, sort of three options, except that for Cub Scouting, because it's a volunteer-led, often parent-led, for those of you who are den leaders and Cub Masters, you have all been asking parents, hey, can you help lead this? Could you do this part? Well, we now may have an opportunity to get better results in getting parents involved, because we may need to think about three options of what Cub Scouting looks like. Let me share a slide or two here. the three options might be plan A, what we all hope for, what it used to be, in-person group activities, but we know based on existing conditions and our projections of conditions that will exist in another 6 weeks, that those probably won't be the same as they were a year ago. We look at the other end of the spectrum, and that's what we call plan B in the guide and in the resources, and that's the concept of many activities or all activities being done at home, which means that you're leaning on the family to lead the scouts, to work in their handbook on adventures, and parents can lead activities with their kids. And then you can get together and share over Zoom or share videos and pictures, whether it's on a text thread or a more formal way. And frankly, we think that a lot of it may be a little of each, what we call a plan AB, where you do some in-person activities, but you also do a lot of at-home activities so that families can continue in that way. Because some families, even when the state and the school and the church say you can all come back, some families are going to go, I'm not quite ready yet, and those families are going to need scouting too. So the question is, one question is, what's safe to do? What will be safe? And for that, let's hear from Jason Baldridge, live on tape, since he's covering this issue for the council from a safe scouting perspective. Jason?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Yeah, I just want to take a couple minutes of your time. One, thanks, everybody, for the great work that you've done in being very flexible and very creative with how you're getting together and staying connected with your families. It's very important right now. As we look to the future, what we're going to be looking at is continuing that creativity, because we just don't know how long we're going to be in this. And so we could tell you that this is the way to do everything, but the truth is that really isn't going to work, because everybody's situation is a little bit differently. So what I want to get you all thinking about is a three-step process to how we're going to approach these things. So everything you're going to do, I want you to consider these things. One, are you allowed to do what you were getting ready to do? So you want to plan a meeting. Are you allowed to do the meeting? What does the governor's orders say? What do your local county and municipal orders say? What's your chartered organization say? So for instance, right now, the governor's orders that go into effect tomorrow allow for gatherings of up to 50 in a single location without any increased precautions. If you go over 50, there's other things that you have to do. But just because the governor allows more than 50 people to gather, does your city, does your charter organization? Once you know if it's allowed, I want you to move to the next thing, which is it safe? Just because it's allowed doesn't necessarily mean it's safe to do so. If it is safe to gather or it is safe to do your activity, consider how. What is it that you need to do in order to run these things safely? Do you need to be wearing masks? Do you need to make sure you have 6 feet of distance between everybody? Do you need to have plenty of hand sanitizer and hand washing stations available? These are things that you're going to want to consider. And then the final thing, the third question I want you to consider is, will people come? So just because it's allowed and you figured out a way to do it safely, the big kicker is, will people come out? And I would contend that if you can do all of those things and you survey your families and just keep in touch with them and they indicate that they're not coming, probably best not for you not to do that activity, or for you to do some other version, do it via Zoom, do it virtually or something like that. So remember, I want you to think about, is it allowed? Is it safe? And if so, how do we do it safely? And then will people come when you go to make your decisions? But there's lots of things that can be done right now. This isn't the time to just sit at home and do everything via Zoom. There's so much we can be doing. I've heard of PACs that are doing drive-in crossovers where they'll all show up at the parking lot and they'll have a bridge over there, and one member of the PAC and one member of the troop and one scout at a time will walk across the bridge. The leaders are wearing masks. There's no handshaking or anything like that. They'll just give them a bag with their neckerchief. All the car horns are honking. Everybody's having a good time. And then the scout will go back to his car. I've seen similar features done with troop courts of honor for awards. And there's a lot of different ways we can do these things. Remember, too, the outdoors are a fantastic place to be socially distanced, to be able to use hand sanitizer and stay apart from each other, and really do some cool things. And scouting happens in the outdoors. So if you're meeting virtually, maybe consider throwing in some outdoor activities. Go on a hike, do a big family picnic, do some kind of fun activity with a guest where everybody can sit in family units, and so you can keep family units 6 feet apart. But there's so much we can do right now. We want you to do that. As you look to the fall, and this is my closing, as you look to the fall, I want you to come up with a few plans. I want you to think about, what's it look like if we're just going to do it normal? That can be your plan A. That's fine. But have a plan B that's kind of a mix. What pieces can we do virtually, or can we do in some other format that might make people more comfortable and give us a better attendance, or maybe it's just safer? And then have a plan C, which is we're back to lockdown and everybody's sheltering in place. And you're going to need to figure out a way to do things virtually or on social media, word of mouth, peer-to-peer, and be ready to go. But no matter what, in the words of our Vice President, Ted Krause, it may look a little different, but scouting will continue this summer and this fall. And with your help, it'll continue to serve a lot of great families that really need us. So thank you very much. Bert, back to you.
All right, thank you, Jason. We do need to keep it safe, and it won't be simple. Let me just give a little FYI on some of the terms that were used there. Jason's plan A is just like the plan A we describe in the guide, and that's in-person activities, group activities. What he called plan C is like what the guide calls plan B, or primarily family-led at-home scouting coupled with virtual connections with a community like Zoom and videos and pictures. And his plan B, some in-person, some family-led, is what we've called plan AB, or a mix of both in-person and family-led. Now, for some, they'll see, oh, wait, parents leading their scouts at home? Isn't that, a big change, a big switch for parents? Because a lot of parents like to sign up for scouting and know that the den leader is going to lead everything. But then again, most den leaders are saying, please, parents, raise your hand and help, because we all need to lead Cub Scouting. And frankly, most packs are going to need more den leaders than any time, because it's a hard job. Also, most dens and packs that are super successful have a lot of parent participation. So frankly, the easiest way to give a parent that, small piece of a job to help lead is to say, hey, can you help lead your own son or daughter? And here are ways you can do it, because these are important things for your scouts to know. So the shift from den leader led, if you're in plan B, doing at-home scouting, to parent led may look like this, that the den leader is not trying to lead all the scouts on a Zoom session, but rather show the parents how to lead their scouts by making sure they know what the handbook has, making sure they see the adventure resources, giving them other tips and ideas. And then when you are getting together by Zoom or otherwise, have a little bit of show and tell sharing so that the families and scouts can see each other. More on this later. For now, let's get a key element of new member recruiting out of the way, because we need to be sure that folks know about the new national registration fees. To do that, here is Lewis Todd, our Council Vice President for District Operations, with some frank talk about fees.
All right.
This was supposed to be a frank talk about fees. I don't know who Frank is, but he couldn't make it, so I drew the short straw, apparently. My experience in scouting goes way back. I remember the fees were $15, I believe, back in 2010. They went up, I think, in 2014 to $24. Somewhere in there, they went up to 33. Last year, 60. And here we are, about to kick off the 2021 recruiting season, and we're going up again. It's going up to $66 for the annual fee. So that's $60 for Cub Scouts, Scouts BSA, Venturing, and Sea Scouts. So anyone joining after August 1st will pay those fees, but also will pay a new joining fee of $25, and that's paid just for anyone joining after August 1st. And that's a one-time fee. Our council paid memberships, which those are the memberships that the council subsidizes, those are going from 24 to 30. Volunteer fee will go from 36 to 42. Exploring is going from 36 to 42. And then finally, the recharter fee is going from 60 to 75. So way back in 2010, $15. Here we are today, $66. That's a huge increase. But if you think about $66 on its own as an annual fee, to me, it's still worth it. The program is a great value at $66. The one-time joining fee is what it is. I still think parents and families will recognize that Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, the scouting programs all have a great value. Things to be thankful of, well, at least we know what the fee is going to be in June. Last year, we didn't know about the fee increase until October. And quite frankly, I think that's why it has taken us well into June to finish up recharter. So I'm glad we know it now. We can prepare for it. That's what Scouts like to do. We like to be prepared. So I hope you feel like I feel. Scouting's still a great value, even with these fee increases. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Bert, or maybe to Andy.
All right, thank you, Lewis. A few summary notes about fees. First, those are national fees. The Atlanta Area Council, unlike some councils, does not impose a council insurance fee or other council participation fee on top of the national fees. Second, the higher fees go into effect on August 1 for new members joining. That $25 new member fee is for new program participants, and it's not assessed on participants previously registered in any BSA program. So even if their membership lapsed because they didn't recharter this year, or they were in Cub Scouting a few years ago and are now coming back, if they are former participants, they don't pay that $25 new member fee. Three things about the higher fees. Number one, I get it. I wish that were not so, but it is so. Second, given the fact that a new scout first joining in August of 2020 would pay $52.50 for the remainder of 2020 compared to last August when it was only $13.75, the Atlanta Area Council is committed to sign-up night flyers that will be more forthright about total costs, like what your PAC will charge in dues. And we're going to work with Ben and George and the field staff to come up with some templates for sign-up night flyers that will hopefully set this out in a clearer way and avoid confusion when families come to sign-up events this summer. Last, given the August 1 commencement of those new fees, there's actually a cost savings for PACs that get their program planned and promoted and follow steps to do signups now, because you can do that. A new scout first joining in August of 2020, as we said, pays $52.50 for the remainder of 2020. But a new scout first joining in July would only pay $30 for the remainder of the year, and that's a savings of $22.50. So there's the fees, that's what they are. Let's talk about what then makes the BSA program cost worthwhile. And the first step to creating value is creating your activities plan. We've asked Andy Camp of the Indian Springs District to share his expert thoughts about that.
I'm not sure I would call myself the expert, but I've done this a few times, so maybe that just gives me experience. I think Lewis nailed something that I'm just going to reiterate, which is showing value. And when a lot of our families come in for the first time and they don't know what to expect, you can really win them over by showing them these are the things that we're going to do right out of the gate. I've actually been in 2 councils now in 2 different districts over my time with my family. And what we've done in both of our units with the PACs was we provided a calendar. And sometimes you just run out of real estate on paper. So you have to decide what works best for you. But coming up with the events, especially through the end of the year and early into the next year, or highlights of what the year will look like, and focusing on those family events. So, you know, the things where you're going to be doing stuff together as a family, those are wonderful things to do. You know, these items are sometimes flyers when you have them. Other times they're just things that can be posted on a PAC website or other things, but include all of the summer events. Think about, you know, this is when that graduation ceremony is going to be a crossover or blue and gold or whatever. One of the things that they guide us on is present new handbooks at that ceremony. That's something that we've done, proud to say, for, gosh, I want to say almost 11 or 12 years. That means a lot. They're able to transition right into their next badge without really any hiccups, and everyone's prepared. Find out what folks want to do, and really just put it all together for an activity calendar, DIN and PAC related. And then really just focusing on what those fun activities are going to be that are going to be a little bit different from, hey, we're going out to sit in a DIN meeting, isn't necessarily something that is the hook. There'll be a lot of fun things they do at those DIN meetings. So talk about what they include. If you put down weekly DIN meetings, say they include outings and things like that. But we do have to be prepared for some things that are going to come up. We know that things will be different, at least for a little while. So making sure that we have a plan B, which would be those activities that may be done as a family. They may be done over some of the technology platforms that we're utilizing, like the one we have tonight. And also looking at those as family-led scouting activities and honoring whatever those orders are, like Jason talked about. One thing that had not even crossed my mind until Bert and I started talking about this, and I'll confess to it, is what about our chartered organizations? What are going to be their rules? So clearing up, knowing everything, and then building that calendar, building that activity platform, that these are the things that you're signing up for and you're going to be doing stuff, is going to go a long way to helping any hurdles that we might have when we start talking about pitching the program to someone who's very unfamiliar with it. And I know there's some other folks that'll talk about this too, but then it also creates some cohesiveness with the families. And I will tell you that word of mouth is still the best way that everything is ever going to be sold. And when folks sign up and they've talked to other people and they hear it's organized, they hear that there's an activity calendar, they hear that things are done, they're likely to ride through things together where they may not have in the past. And also they're kind of leaning on each other as their own little network to try to get these things done. So physical distancing rules for the Plan B, looking what can be green lighted, will everything be okay? Will everybody be comfortable with it? And making sure that the calendar that you're bringing to a recruitment night, again, either as a tangible thing or directing somebody to it, I highly recommend at least having something there for people to see, assuming we have that in person, will go a really, really long way in showing that A, we're going to be doing something if we can stick with straight up plans, and then B, we have a contingency plan if we have to do physical distancing rules, and here are all the wonderful things that we can do while we're in that mode. And then when we get back into less restrictive, more activities in groups, then everybody will be ready for that as well. Go outside. That's a key takeaway. Plan a lot of things outside. It will make life a lot easier when you start looking at the physical restrictions physical distancing rules rather, that may be in place. Bert, I think think I've covered about everything there. Did I miss anything that we talked about, or are we good to go on to the next?
I think you've covered it well, Andy. Thank you. PACs that have a robust program and lots of activities provide great value. They will do well. They will be successful, and that's true last year. That's true this year. And some of the support that Den and PAC leaders can give families is in our Scouting at Home pages, and you shouldn't look at that and think, oh no, that's only for Scouting at Home, because let's suppose that you can, because you can, and you will, because I hope you will, have, for example, Den hikes. There's no reason why a Den leader can't print out the resource guide from those pages for that adventure for your Den and say to each parent, here's a copy of the resource guide, and then ask them, hey, could you talk about the 6 Cub Scout essentials? If you ask them straight up, they'd say, I have no idea what those are. But if you hand them a piece of paper and they can read what they are, that parent will be a genius and can lead. And that's true whether they are together with you hiking Kennesaw Mountain or Sweetwater Creek State Park. And that's true if they are doing it at home around their neighborhood today and then checking in with you as a Den leader later. So when you have your plan, it's time to promote it. You got to let people know. Step 2 of our guide is Promote Your PAC program. And to share her thoughts about the many ways to get the word out, we welcome Sybil Brinson, the Southwest Atlanta new unit chair.
Thank you, Bert. Yes, in the past, I have seen that the best way to promote is through families and other kids, because the scout who is having fun in their pack is the one that's going to go tell his friends who may not already be in a pack. So those are some of the best ways. And other parents, letting other parents know what you're doing, what you're into, is a good way to promote your pack. So it's not always just up to the leader to promote the pack. Methods of promoting, be a scout is one of the best ways, but you have to make sure your information is correct and make sure you follow up when you're they're looking at the Be a Scout and they contact you. Pack flyers. The PAC Facebook page is an excellent way to promote your PAC. Other methods are, like I said, word of mouth is the best way to promote your scouting unit. When can you promote? You should always be promoting your scouting unit. I talk about scouting just as much as I talk about my children. It's one and the same. So I encourage my kids to talk about scouting. So we're always promoting scouting. If it's not just for our unit, just scouting in general. Other things you could do to promote, again, is show activities, broadcast what you're doing in your packs. Through schools, through church communities, through Instagram, Facebook. Those are other platforms, especially this new day and age. Why? Because of the program. It works. For me, my kids started scouting because we looked on Be a Scout. I contacted several people on Be a Scout. And out of the Be a Scout, only 2 people contacted me. Only 1 pack had what we were looking for. So that's why I say promote, promote, promote. Any kind of way you can. Have your parents promote, have the kids promote. Have a plan of promoting. And just enjoy scouting. So if other people see you're having fun in scouting, they'll come. It's almost like that. Build it and they'll come. Have fun and they'll come.
All right, thanks, Sybil. That is great. There are a lot of ways to get the word out, and the key is, what do you use? What does your community use? Our guide and website lists a lot of ideas, not because you're going to use them all, but you might see one that will work. You might even see ideas that aren't in the guide, like we didn't contemplate putting in there to have your pack TikTok expert. But if you have someone who likes that, they could create their own TikToks of your Cub Scouts in action. Now, here's a couple other elements that Sybil mentioned that may be of interest to some. For example, Be a Scout. We have a page on the Atlanta Area Council website that was updated last month about how to update your Be a Scout pin and activate online registration and online invitations to join your pack. And so if you follow those instructions, you should be able to update. If you can't update, if you call the program center, I know that Donna Carr has worked with people about how to do that and how to get that fixed. Also know that in addition to sign-up flyers, the council has and will have many other resources that can be used to promote your pack, to promote your sign-up events, to promote your activities. Not all of them may be used right now. Maybe don't use the peer-to-peer cards, but those yard signs and standees, those would be awesome for families to see and for kids to see and get excited about the program. I also like what Sybil notes about family-to-family contact, parent-to-parent, kid-to-kid, because you could get Baden Powell himself to stand up in front of a school auditorium and say that scouting is the best way to raise kids, but that's probably not going to be as effective as your friend who's a mom or a dad saying, I don't know everything about scouting, but I like that my kid likes it, and I think my kid is becoming a better person as a result. So peer-to-peer is so powerful. Now, of course, when you use Facebook, TikTok, Insta, whatever, to share information, be sure to follow BSA social media guidelines. For example, you don't publicly share last names and locations when you're posting pictures and videos so that you can't identify who's smiling or laughing in the picture or video, and use a release like the one that is found in Part B of the medical record, which most packs are going to obtain from new Scout members anyway. Last, a great element Sybil and I talked about was how great the Cub Scout handbooks are. Parents and their kids should use those. Kids should like the fun that they see in them, and parents should like them because the handbooks are full of stuff that parents want their kids to know, learn, do, and be. It's like an operating manual for your kid and a great support in raising a child. So den and pack leaders who point parents to handbook highlights and adventure resources are doing those families a huge favor. There are so many things that families can do from those adventure resources, from cooking to hiking, the neighborhood to service to emergency preparedness, that's going to make stronger families through scouting, which is our goal in the Atlanta Area Council. So next, as you plan in step one and promote in step two, it's necessary to have some support and leaders who can help deliver the program and guide parents and scouts, because to have great program, you need leaders. To share his insights, here's Naka Nathaniel, Eagle Scout and Cub Master of Pack 586 in the Phoenix District.
Thanks, Bert. I appreciate you having invited me to do this. And there's something I'm going to follow up real quickly on what you just said that that really is going to be part of the three things that I want to talk about. The number one thing, of course, is that we need great leaders, and the easiest way that I've found to find leaders is as soon as I learn a Cub Scout's name, when they first come into the to one of our pack meetings, or is what's your scout's name, how old are they, tell them who their den leader will likely be. And then I also ask the parent, were they involved in scouting? And if my favorite is when someone says, well, yeah, I was a life scout. Those are the people that I hone in on. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to put you to good work. I'm going to put you to work here. And folks that have some experience in scouting are, the easiest of the targets. And that's the one thing that I know that's sometimes buried on, lists, whatever, but just ask the parent, like, were you involved in scouting? Find out what their story was. And that's oftentimes the easiest way just to get them, in the door. And it's one of those things that, we sometimes kind of forget, to concentrate on those parents that do have that scouting experience, and that we can easily exploit them to get them involved in our recruiting. The other group that I like to look out for are parents that, that are, say that they have some sort of outdoors experience. That's one of the things that they're, it's a two-way street. Oftentimes I'm trying to sell them, but they're also trying to sell themselves too. And when they offer up their bona fides, it's just kind of, keep an eye out for that. And that's one of the ways that we've kind of developed our pipeline. Which kind of leads to the other downside that we oftentimes have is that, when I do end up start talking to folks is that, I'm lucky, we have a pretty decent sized pack, we have a decent number of leaders, but unfortunately so many of them are, former scouts. And so we're kind of missing sometimes, those people that will offer a different viewpoint. And one of our great assistant cub masters, she's very good on, the Pinterest side of things and bringing in new ideas that oftentimes so many of these old scouters that I've worked with, just don't offer up. But I want to come back to lastly the one thing that Bert was saying that is, one of those things that we can kind of take advantage of is, right now parents are being asked to step into the role of their den leader, and that this is a unique opportunity that they've done this. They're seeing what the program is. This is no longer a mystery. If their kid is going to be involved in Scouts, they have the opportunity to learn, see, and do. And once they've done this, there's no reason why that they can't step in and at least lead a den meeting or some of these other activities. And not every person has to be a den leader. We have folks that concentrate on different things like our Pinewood Derby or different activities. And not every parent is great with kids. There are sometimes parents that are better off working with the different different specific things, like can they arrange a visit to a firehouse, can they help out with the blue and gold, are they better off recruiting or helping us out with camp outs, that's the sort of stuff. Are they good camp cooks? And that's the thing, is like every parent has a role that they can play in your pack, and that's something that it's just a matter of plugging people into the right places. Is that tell everybody that we're going to handle, you don't have to know everything right out of the box, that you'll be trained, that we'll get you trained up. And that's always one of the things I always tell everybody, is that we have a phenomenal trainer that we work with, Bert Bender, and his trainings are not to be missed. And that's always something every single parent that I brought into our pack, and afterwards, that they've gone through one of Bert's trainings, they come out, full of vim and vigor, ready to go.
I am, of course, worried about how I can do that in a appropriately physically distant way that will allow us to still play Balloon Stomp Battle Royale with all the parents. But somehow we'll figure out something. But I just wanted to come back to the concept of parents leading their kids, because I see a lot of angst among den leaders who, they want to get more parent participation. They aren't getting it, and it creates, this chasm of a den leader having to do everything and being resentful of parents who don't. The fact that some parents will actually be doing things at home is a good thing. That is something that we want parents to do. And the more they do that, the more that they, for example, take a first aid adventure and learn it along with their scout as the scout learns it, the better we're going to be. Plus, when everything does come back to Plan A in person, those families who have been reading up on scouting will be no longer able to play the card of, well, I was never in scouting when I was younger, so I can't figure out how to lead this. They will be leaders, and that's going to be part of how we make stronger families. So getting leaders is critical to the infrastructure, having the program plan and promoting it. Let's look at a special focus on how to get the word out there about what we do in scouting, and that is a local focus on school and community presence. And I've asked Vonda Shands to speak. She is been a Cub Master. She's the new member coordinator in the Southern Crescent District. And she's also somebody who teaches, so she knows it from both sides. So Vonda, can you talk about school and community presence?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Again, I am Vonda Shands. I'm glad to be here this evening to talk to you about your connections with the school and the community. Think about it. This fall, right now, let's pull back. Right now, the principals really don't know what it's going to look like because they're waiting from the state, they're waiting from district offices. So there is a lot of, okay, what next? So when the fall comes and we show up with our, wonderful signs ready for recruitment, they may not be kind of, as willing to, draw us in quite yet because they are limited by numbers and the different kinds of activities and whether they want to know that the kids will be following guidelines and such. So the big word is patience, okay? Being very patient and to keep us in the loop. Let's be very gracious because many of us have built wonderful relationships with the schools that we are connected with. So, telling the boys, let's write letters of thank you and welcome back and thanking teachers for teaching us all last year online and, just being very gracious that their schools, being a church, thanking a pastor, thanking whoever has supported your scouting. That letter writing is wonderful. They love to see the wonderful letters and pictures that our young scouts put together for them. Using and we touched upon this about the plan A with us meeting live versus the plan B having the parent meeting. I'm sorry, and then we always know that there's the C, the virtual meetings like we're having now. So when you're planning for next year and you think about how we can loop the schools and the community people into that, inviting maybe some of the teachers or the principal, thank you so much and we miss you and that kind of thing when if the school is not readily available for school method. Do wonderful things for the school. It might be planting some flowers out in front. It might be doing some other needed activity that the school wants you to have. When you're planning for an open house, you're going to have to think out of the box because depending on how the schools roll out these open houses that, we love to have, you might want to say, well, I know you can only have a certain amount of people. Can we do something outside? We can set up tents in front of the school. We can have, tables set out so that the parents can sign up and such. Getting on that school webpage, you can still ask for that. So making sure that if you get onto the school's webpage, a presenter said earlier that, we need to have a scheduled program for the year. Yeah, at least have every year. And, as parents come in, they may want to add activities. And that's, that of course is perfectly fine as long as the parents agree to them. But no, make sure you're giving back to your community. We call that, value added. Are you adding to the school that you are working with? Are you adding to the church that you're working with? Are they happy to see the little scouts come in? Or are they like, oh, they're going to leave it a mess? Oh, they're going to do this. Think about what your brand, your PAC's brand is. And I know it's odd to be thinking about branding with, kids, but think about, the impression that you're leaving behind. And these days it's very important because, we want them to eagerly, welcome us back in when a lot of these restrictions are lifted. And I'm thinking that's all that I needed to cover. Is there anything else that you wanted me to cover, Bert?
Thanks, Vonda. That was great. You pointed out we've got a lot of opportunity here with schools, churches, and other community organizations. So if we're helpful, friendly, courteous, and kind, and also not publicity shy, we can really reap a lot of great benefits. So now at this point, we've got a plan, we've promoted it, we have leaders, and we have good school and community presence so they know what we do. People have heard about us, and it's time to get them to sign up. To share their ideas, we have actually live David Cornegay. He's the PAC 138 Cub Master and Indian Springs District Commissioner, and Carter Smith, the Indian Springs District Executive. David, Carter?
Thanks, Bert. Glad to see everybody here this morning and enjoying this presentation with you guys. Fall recruiting and presentations to the parents. Sign-up nights is a very important part of new member recruiting. Obviously, you've got one chance to show them what you got, and if you don't come ready, they are likely to walk right out the door, or maybe even worse, sign up, spend some money, and never show up or give up immediately. So it's important to come ready to go with a good strategy, have your volunteers ready to join in with you. So it's not just a one-man show from the unit, get as many people there as you can. And I'm gonna hand it over to David Cornegay, one of the Indian Springs' most successful PAC leadership groups from PAC 138. They always do a great job, and I'm gonna let him talk a little bit about their strategy for sign-up nights, and then I'll come back in and add a couple extra things. David, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Carter. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good this Saturday morning. So like Carter was saying, we have been a fairly successful PAC over the years. I know when I first started, we had 15 to 20 scouts, and we're upwards of around 90, sometimes more, sometimes less. You guys know how that fluctuates. But one of the things that that we do when we have support night or school nights is make sure that you have plenty of support. So you have plenty of leaders there. You also have plenty of scouts there, because the new potential scouts are going to gravitate towards the kids, right? And the kids experience, your units on a weekly basis, so they know all of what's going on too, and can promote your unit as well. So typically, we tend to have maybe 5 to 10 leaders there at each scout night, and roughly around 5 scouts or so. So leaders are there, obviously, to answer any questions that parents might have, go around and help with applications, and just explain scouting in general, kind of as the parents get there and start, kind of ease that tension between the waiting period. Another thing you want to do is obviously promote your unit, promote your PAC, but most importantly, promote scouting. Much like most of you, we share school nights with other units, and we just promote scouting. Sometimes it comes down to whether Monday night or Tuesday night is a better meeting time for the family. So whether they join my PAC or another PAC, as long as they're involved in scouting, that's what's important. So be sure to promote scouting in general, not just your unit. But also, some of the things that we have just there to help promote and show how successful our unit has been is we have the trifold boards with the pictures and everything from the previous years. Pictures from your popcorn sales, PAC meetings that you may have, big trips, anything that can show what you do as a unit. Also, props. We have plenty of props, Pinewood Derby cars, Regatta Regatta boats. Just anything that you can bring that you can show the kids what your unit does is great. I'm looking at my notes here. Let's see. Also, one of the things that I do is I put together a PAC video of the previous year. So pictures from all throughout the year, from all the different dens, and I put it to music, and I have that playing on my laptop in the middle of our setup, just to show the kids what we do. All the pictures from the previous year. Parents love it too, but that's a vocal point that the kids just gravitate to. Your PAC calendar. You've heard a couple of people talk about that already. Make sure you have that. If anything, it's just for the first half of the year. We all know how we need to be flexible and dates change. So that's why we only usually do it about half a year at a time, just because those dates do change a lot. Make sure you have your contact info on there. So your email addresses, social media, website, all that stuff is on there with key dates, key information on that flyer or that calendar. One of the things that we did last year that worked pretty well for us, and I don't have any units out there, actually have a language barrier with some of their parents. I know we have somewhat of a high Hispanic population, which is great, but sometimes the parents don't speak that good English. So one of the things that we did is we got one of our parents that is fluent in both Spanish and English, and she translated a bunch of stuff for us. Anything from documents, our flyers, emails that were sent out, posts that we put on our Facebook page, that always helps. So having that information up front to give to those parents helps drastically. And then another thing that we do at our sign up night to make the scouts that sign up with us feel like they're already a part of the team is when they sign up, obviously they have to pay a little bit more for this, but they get their pack shirt as well as their den book to start off that year. So that way they can come to the very first meeting ready to go. And that's all I got. Carter, did I miss anything?
No, David, you did great. Thank you so much for jumping in with us on this. Always enjoy hearing your perspectives on these things, and I'm looking forward to getting our recruiting year kicked off with the help of you and a lot of our other units and volunteers. I've just got a couple extra things I want to throw in there. I saw somebody in the chat group was asking about Be a Scout, and that is going to be absolutely critical for our fall recruiting this year. And so Be a Scout is a system that allows our parents to sign up their Cub Scouts online. They might see a Facebook ad or something like that and decide they want to sign up, but not know when the sign up night is, or maybe they're just too busy to come to that particular event. And so through the Be a Scout system, your unit can access it through My.Scouting. Any of the key 3 members of your Cub Scout pack can use this. And I posted a link in the chat to get you to the instructions on how to set it up, and it allows you parents to see, based on zip code, their relationship distance-wise to packs, and then request either information or request to sign up with you. So go ahead and make sure that every single unit on this this call should be jumping in there, double checking your information, making sure that the contact info is correct for this year, and if you need to set it up still, get it set up. It'll also be really important to double check it regularly. You'll have new youth and new adults waiting for you in the system that need approval, and maybe just have a couple of questions. Hey, I'm interested in scouting. What can you tell me? And that's a quick email, just to let them know what's going on. So get it set up and double check it regularly. Your district executives can actually see all of the units in the system. So expect that you might get an email or a phone call from your DE saying, hey, double check. I see that you've got a scout that's been in your system for 15 or 20 days that you haven't reached out to yet. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about real quick, and hopefully that kind of clears up a little bit about the Be a Scout Invitation Manager. And I also just wanted to mention that there is more than just the classical sign up night of we're going to stand in front of the parents and the Cub Master is going to talk, and then the DE is going to talk, and then we're going to get out of here. Depending on your scheduling needs and how your pack functions, I would recommend giving a station-to-station sign-up night a chance. And basically, you break up the talks that you were going to do into individual stations, and families can move through the process from the minute they walk in the door instead of waiting for a presentation. You can have as many stations as you need, but basically a welcome and sign-in station, a station to help describe what scouting is, a station to give them their paperwork and give them a little bit of guidance on how to fill it out, a station to give them pack information, your annual calendar, contact info, and stuff like that. You can kind of set it up to your needs, but it's an opportunity that might help out a little bit with social distancing requirements at some of our schools. If you're only allowed to have 25 people in a building at once, set up station to station and move people through the system as they come in and get them back out on the road so you can keep going. I think I pretty much covered all of my thoughts, and Again, appreciate David jumping in with us. Ben or Bert, is there anything you want to add to this?
Bert, if I could, I was going to just share one other thing. The great job, Carter, David. How many? I'm so used to speaking in front of people and saying, "Hey, raise your hand if this applies." But you've tried to track down that youth application or adult application where you've had to drive over and meet somebody or mail it. If you've got your Be a Scouts set up, then you could just send them the link or drive them to a site and then go online and fill out their application and actually pay right there. So even with social distancing, that's even more important, but just for your time and energy, it makes life so much easier. So another benefit of having your Be a Scout pin set up.
And the Be a Scout setup is also an opportunity for us to partner so that a PAC can create their own message right within My.Scouting by updating their pin, updating their unit description, and even more powerfully, creating email messages that will go to somebody who shows interest in your PAC or who has submitted an application in your PAC, so that an email will spit out from Be a Scout, but it will contain the message that you put in, including links to your website if you have one, a description of what you do, a description of your PAC dues, in addition to national registration fees, so that people who reach out to you will get that information straight up, and hopefully that'll be consistent with whatever handouts you have or what you posted on your website. So all the more reason why it's important to update those Be a Scout sites. The script that is attached to the guide to recruiting that's posted on the Atlanta Area Council page is posted both as a PDF and as a Word document, and it's in the back of the guide, so you can download the Word copy of the guide and adapt the script to fit your PAC, the way you're going to do your sign-up night, and there's suggested ways to describe some of the key items that you might want to have in a sign-up night. For another tip about sign-up nights, and also for school open house nights or meet the teacher, meet and greet days that happen right before school starts, which are powerful ways to actually get to know individual parents as they come into a school to get registered. Here's a tip from Brett DeVore of the Northern Ridge District. So
it's Brett DeVore. Can I add just one thing?
Yep.
To that. So those were amazing things. I will tell you too. One of the things that we found, and I think it was a national study, is that when you are doing those things, we want to look amazing. And I look at all these people who are on there, everybody's in their scout shirt and stuff like that. That when we went and changed our recruiting thing to the leaders not wearing their uniform, but wearing a polo shirt, that we got more volunteers. And the studies that were done showed that, because like you said, a new parent coming up who doesn't understand everything like that, are they going to be more intimidated to talk to you if you have 2 knots, 3 knots, all these patches, or are they going to be, is it going to be easier to talk to you in a t-shirt or a polo shirt and things like that? So you're just my neighbor. Yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just something to consider as you do that. We all want to look amazing in our uniforms and feel like we're putting on that. However, that might not be the right time to do that, especially when we're trying to get in leaders and things like that. Because if, somebody doesn't want to come in and go, oh, I can never do that because look how many knots you have, or look at all your patches and things like that. But if you're just in a polo shirt and we can just talk, you're my neighbor, you're my friend, we go to the same school, you're in that neighborhood over there, you're a dad, you're a mom.
Correct. Yeah, we don't want to give parents the impression that it's only the khaki wearing people who
Yes.
can do scouting. And if you take off the khaki shirt when you're first meeting people, then you're just, a parent like them, or in my case, an old hippie.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you. And now we've got through 5 steps. We've had our school sign-up night, hopefully some fun sign-up events. But every fun event or program that you schedule for your pack and den can help new families join and are essential to retaining those families that signed up online or at school sign-up night. And to share some ideas about how fun events are essential to help you attract families, here's the irrepressible Allison Benton, membership chair of the Southern Crescent District.
Yes,
Hello.
hi everyone. So I have been actually, I'm the hyperactive overachiever, fun kind of leader and want to share some things. So I've heard to talk about events throughout the whole presentation. But my part is you ask, how do I add more fun? Events, which is a great question to have and to ask, and I'm the right person to tell you. So I have the one thing to say, so some key ideas is to keep it simple, make it fun, okay? We have a lot of great district and council events that are happening. In fact, I think I heard about some dinosaurs that are coming in July, on July 13th through the 17th. No one heard? Oh my God, it's the virtual day camp. We are having our Jurassic camp. We have the little dinosaurs that are coming through the city. The dinosaurs that are coming. It's 5 straight days of live and on-demand events for our scouts. It is fun-filled. They're going to be rank advancements, virtual field trip, STEM activities, and it's great for the family. We talked about, the family-led activities. Well, this is a perfect start for them, which is, again, it's happening July 13th through the 17th. Key plug-in. See, other events that are good, like they said, the fishing derby. We can do fishing derby. Hopefully we'll get back to our Trailblazer and Camporee, which is one of my favorites out there at Burt Adams. I love the Camporee, the spookeries. But if not, who's to say we can't do it virtual and have it now in our backyard? We have to think about, this is our time to add fun events and think deep inside our creative mind to make sure that we have not fun events, not only for ourselves, hint, hint, but for the scouts as well, okay? Other events, maybe you can have bike rodeos. Bike rodeos were the thing when my son was a scout. He loved the bike rodeos, okay? And you can have it probably den by den levels or staggered over the whole time. More activities as the fishing derbies coming up, bowling, ski weekend, virtuals. You can do virtual field trips now. It's a whole world out there. We just have to think outside the box. They always used to tell us that bring the outing and scouting. Everybody remember that? So that's where we have to go back to. Let's take it outside, have a virtual Iron Chef cook-off for the scouts. It is so much that we can do now, and it is time to do it now to show them that we have a scroll full of events for them to do. I always say, keep it simple, make it fun. Remember, the scouting is supposed to be fun.
That's perfect. I'm excited. I want to get outside now, and I want to do scouting with you, Allison. So that is the end of our formal presentation. Carter, do we have any questions? And Ben, do we have any questions that we need to address from the chat?
Bert, I think we pretty well hit them as we were going. I don't think I missed anything. And if anybody has any further questions, I'm happy to try to help. And I know that Ben and Bert can help as well.
Yeah, feel free to ask if any has any more clarifying, need some clarification or help.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah, so are there incentives or do y'all have any ideas for incentives for the scouts themselves to get their friends involved? I know back in my day, I don't even want to admit this, in the mid 80s, there was a recruiter strip that, we got as Boy Scouts when we brought friends in who joined. Is there still something similar to that our kids can do? Kids love patches.
Bert, I don't know if you can answer. I mean, I can answer it if you need me to.
Yeah, well, there's still a recruiter patch that kids can earn, and those are great to stock up on so that you can show the kids the patch that they can earn if they recruit a buddy.
Yeah, and you know, last few years we've had an item if you join the night of the sign up night, which we've done the little bungee rockets. Last year we did the slime. We're looking to do the slime one more year, and so you can clearly use that for peer to peer, or the nights of your sign up that will have that the light up slime.
Great, thank you.
And I know we hit peer to peer quickly, and someone may have a question, but I would tell you right now, this summer is a great time to do peer-to-peer, to take advantage of the June and July before the impact of August 1. But peer-to-peer right now, get your Be a Scout set up and get as many friends to sign up as possible.
And quick advert on peer-to-peer. This is a page out of the guide and an image of the recruiter patch that is still available. So your Scout Shop is open and they're available also online.
Let me check here. Yeah, so Hillary, yes, this is a second recording. We'll see which one goes better, but having this accessible for you and to share with other parents, yes, and I believe the slide deck will be available on the website as well.
Yeah, I think this remix version is probably what will be going up because we incorporated into today's version about 15 minutes of questions that we got on the chat Monday night. So.
Yep. Go ahead, Bert. Do you have anything?
Nope, that's
I was going to point out, we hit it, but just wanted to reiterate it a little bit. You know, you might, as Bert's mentioned and everyone, all the presenters have mentioned, this fall is going to be different. We don't know exactly what we're going to be dealing with, but we want to do is everything we can to help with the recruitment process. And some things that to give you a little more detail on, and we're working out the further details, is like digital marketing, having flyers so you can download them and put in your information and send out in your own networks, setting up Facebook events for if you're doing your first PAC meeting or a fun activity that you want to send out there. The council's also partnering with the national organization to do geofencing. And so we'll be able to put some stuff out there to help generate some new people to join. But wanted to make sure you knew that the flyers are going to be available if you need them printed and you want to say take them to your church, or if you have another place you want to distribute them. We don't have to, we're not limited to schools. Also, if you have fantastic relationships with your school that you recruit from, we can make sure we get on their closed circuit TVs. We can get their newsletters being sent out. And I would tell you, man, it's now so important that we maintain relationships with our schools, whether it be through service projects, whether it be helping out with the flag ceremony at the PTO meeting, or just communicating with them in a simple note, you know, PEC 17. Hey, just to let you know, we recruited 17 new scouts this year. And here's a photo of them from blank elementary school. Principals are proud of their students. And so just a little tidbit of what you can do to help promote that. And then that way, when you come in and say, hey, could we do this? The principal's like, absolutely. Y'all are an asset to us. So just a little bit I can share with everyone. Timeline, Kathy was asking. Oh goodness, I don't know if we can get it by Sunday, Kathy, but you can blurb it, or you can highlight it and say it's going to be ready and reference the. I'm trying to think, Bert, do you know offhand what the website is for? Is it AtlantaBSA.org/something resources? What?
Recruiting resources.
Recruiting resources.
So I'll show the route to get into it. Hang on one second.
But I definitely think you share the page on your eBlast, and then once it's up there, they can see it.
So basically, from the Atlanta Area Council page, recruiting resources is found under volunteer, recruiting resources, and then this is the main page that has the guide. I'll share with the council, the PowerPoint we use for these sessions. And then the subpages are over on this side. And so, for example, if you wanted to go to find out where to update Be a Scout, bang, there you are. And it's got all the step-by-steps to get through how to do your update and how to create your messages that will go out when people ping you through Be a Scout. So I'd imagine the main page is where we'll post this video and this and the PowerPoint.
Yep. And the last thing I'll say is this is going to be a partnership. Reach out now to your district executive. And I wouldn't mind everybody, if you could, drop in the chat just what pack you're with in district so we know who all's who and can help out there. But reach out to your district executive, reach out to your fall recruiting chairs, and go ahead and get a start now on what you want to do, because once August hits, we're going to be moving fast. I think that's all I have, Bert.
All right. Do you want to queue up our membership chair?
We'll do that. Give me 1 second.
We've got the Council Vice President of Membership, Doug Turner, member of the board, to give us a closing message that is a greatest hit for Monday night.
That's right.
Hey, thanks, Bert, for a great evening. Thank you for all the information. These don't just show up quickly. I know, Bert, you put a lot of time and effort. Thanks to all of our speakers that joined us, and thank you, volunteers, for everything that you're doing to open up scouting to all the youth here in the Atlanta Area Council area. We're excited about that. You're making a difference in the lives of the youth, and that's what we're all here for. So thank you, guys, and have a great evening.
All right. Thank you all for coming out this morning. I hope everyone has a great day and great weekend.